You know,
Yeah.
let's get into a little bit more about the music. I'm excited to talk more about your music and definitely the Newark project, which I learned is the like phonetic pronunciation of Newark, right?
Right.
So I'm not from New York or Newark or anything like that. So I pronounce it Newark. I'm super Midwest about it. I'm from Detroit, so it was kind of cool to learn that. You learn something new every day.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm gonna start walking around like, "Hey, Newark, what up?" Like I don't know if it's gonna be like that, but I thought that was cool. I want to get into that in a minute. Before though, I wanna talk about the Let It Ring music video. This is gonna kind of be my transition into your music because I think there's a huge creative side to this music video, and I think that there's a lot kind of to unpack. So basically, you guys are on a heist.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I watched the video a couple times to kind of like figure it out. But you guys are like stealing artwork from a gallery space, right?
Right.
Kind of tell us about how the idea for the music video came up because I liked it. It was fun to watch.
That's funny. Dala and I were just kind of thinking about how we could make this drill video kind of have some action,
Yeah.
but also not just jump around on like our blocks and shit, right? Because
Right.
we jumping around on the block is fire. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? I still am looking for that song
Yeah.
where we could just go crazy on the block.
Right.
But we kind of just wanted to, as drill, when Brooklyn drill and New York drill was coming to this big explosion, we kind of were like, if we're gonna do it, we kind of just want to do it in the way that we would do it, right?
Yeah.
So we were just thinking, and I had this artwork that I was already working on, and it was in the midst of doing that project, and I actually painted a piece for every song
That's cool.
on that Trill Dollar album.
That's really cool.
And since I had them, I was like, yo, why don't we hang these up and, and like kind of like just run in and jack them. Like it just felt fun.
Yeah.
And it kind of tied into what the first Trill Dollar project kind of was about.
But that's you and Dollar in the video, right?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's funny. It was funny for me to watch because I was like, oh, like halfway through, I was like, oh, that's both of them. That's Dollar. Because I had met him earlier, and I was like, oh, that's hilarious. After knowing him for a little while, man has so much energy. We got to shout out to Dollar Benji for hooking us up. Forgot to say that earlier, but man has so much energy, and I was just like, it's funny to see him acting. It's great.
Yeah, bro. I mean, one of the good things about collaborating with Dollar Ben is that he is really like that classic sitcom duo kind of shit. Like you're gonna like get me kind of just hanging back and chilling most of the time, but he's like running all around me. I love that shit.
It's hilarious. Even when we did our interview, he was all over the place. I love it. And then it was a whole vibe. The interesting thing about the video is kind of like, even in the description, you kind of talk about like how much of your art do we control?
Right.
I'm kind of curious to think of to ask you about your thoughts about control of art in the music industry, and kind of get your opinion on that because you're an independent artist,
right?
So you own everything of yours,
right?
But like, talk a little bit about how much of our art do you feel like we control?
To be honest,
and then maybe how it ties into the video too.
Right. Yeah. To be honest, you own. If you're independent and you've got all your shit in order, your paperwork and all that shit in order, you technically you have all this ownership, right? But we've also allowed ourselves to get in a space where what happens if all the DSPs just disappear, right? Then what do? You still have this ownership, but you still have to figure out who it's going to go through. And so in some ways, even with the ownership, they're going through someone that owns something else, right?
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how I felt about it during that time.
Yeah.
It's still kind of sticking with me, really. Yeah. But again, like we live in a world where everything is shared, right?
Yeah.
So even if I mean something, and like if one of these bars means something, it means that to me, but it could be taken another way. And that shit could, however someone takes that, could go so crazy on Twitter that it just like will bastardize your work.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, but I own this and I meant this, right? So to some degree, even with your ownership, it could still be kind of in the hands of other people.
Right. It's kind of crazy. You say towards the end of the description, Trill Dollar is reminded that someone will always be in the shadows to lift it from under your nose, which is the video, robbing the art studio. I thought that whole video was really cool.